Everybody's been very attentive, been very good. Okay. That's okay.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
I will refer you to tab 3 for the Human Resources section of this presentation. And I'm reminded that today is World Gratitude Day. And I want to share with you that I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here with you to share information about the wonderful employees we have in this county. You know, day to day, in and out, back and forth, our HR team gets to interact with employees on all kinds of different levels, at their best and at their worst day, to try to assist them. We don't always reach the conclusions or the outcomes that might be desired, but I will tell you, we've got hardworking people who are giving it their best every day, and for that, we should all be grateful. That is not the case everywhere, but I wanted to start my comments with that. If you will look at the quote that's on the first page there, this information's taken from a national organization for which I belong, for Public Management for Human Resources. And the data shared here speaks to local and state governments in particular, because that's who this organization is about, government employees. We all have hiring challenges right now. And I will tell you, I've been here 5.5 years now. Doesn't seem like it, but it's a time that I have developed relationships, and I've developed peers throughout the state, through my organization and through my HR listserv. We're all facing the same issues. What has become even more apparent post-COVID is that my peers are less willing to share information. We're kind of closing the gates because we're trading employees. We're stealing, we're robbing. You know, my teaching background, we always said good teachers take what they need from everybody else, but you also share. But we all are facing the same difficulties, whether it be Wake, Durham, Cumberland, Hoke, you know, large and small, we're all sharing the same things. But our most difficult positions to fill throughout, if you will see there, is healthcare, 83%. Those are our hiring challenges. Policing, 78%. These are statewide and nationwide numbers. Engineering, 78%. Dispatch, 75%. Building, permitting, and inspection, 73%. Corrections and jails, 72%. And skilled trades, 71%. Skilled trades is something that wouldn't have been on here a few years ago, but now it's becoming something that's harder to find. The next page, if you will share with me, are our current vacancies, and I put this as of September 1st because this changes daily. We got a revolving door. And we get people for a little while and they're gone, and then we've got people that stay for a long time. Right now, today, that I know of, we have 10 employees retiring between now and December 31st. That changes daily. The window opened September 1st for the 120 days to notify state retirement. So far, 10 of our employees have taken advantage of that. I think we all know that COVID has helped expedite people looking new opportunities. You can look at our school system and the teaching profession. You can look at the news. People that have options are taking them now. But this is a breakdown of the number of vacancies and what those vacancies are. And, you know, this isn't a new problem, but it is a growing problem. If you will look at our number of vacancies at the detention center and the number of vacancies at DSS, our detention workers and our social workers, we can't find them. They're hard to get hold of people who want to work, who come to work, who are willing to do those jobs, because those are stressful jobs. So that's not a new problem. And then we have multiple problems who have challenges. It's not just those two. Those are just our two largest departments. So this is ongoing. And these are the same positions that every county around us is looking for. Our recruitment challenges. If you will recall that we had to do some adjustments with our lowest paid employees when we did our last pay raise, reclassifying our transportation drivers has gotten us a steady convoy of drivers now. So we've taken care of that situation. We don't even, not even currently advertising because we've been able to find good quality people who are doing the job. If you will notice with our detention officers, the 10% pay increase that was implemented in September has not helped with our retention. We've still lost 15 officers since that time. DSS social workers, our social workers, I think the last one we hired was from Hoke County, and she stayed a little while, then she got a job closer to home. In my tenure here, we haven't had to hire a social worker level 1 until now. So we're having to bring them in at level 1. Usually it's a level 2. So the available applicants out there are just not applying. And the applications have dropped off even more in the last month. We don't have near the applications for any position that we had 6 months ago. There again, that's not a Sampson County problem. The health department, our nurses have all kinds of options. We all know that. Post-COVID, nurses are in demand. And if you're willing to be a travel nurse, which is outside my area of expertise, but there's a demand for them. So we're going to have to be competitive for those. Inspections, we have a senior planner position open. If you refer to the websites of everybody around us, so do they. That's a tough position to fill. They can command their salary because they have a skill set and they have to take a lot of grief from the community for why this is allowed and why that's not allowed in enforcing things. Parks and recreation. Everybody wants to work at Parks and Rec. A few years ago, every teenager wanted to work there in the summer. Could socialize. Those days are over. Kids aren't willing to work for minimum wage anymore. They don't have to. I don't know what they're doing, but they don't have to work for minimum wage. So things that used to be an easy hire are now a problem. If we look at EMS, paramedics are heavily recruited everywhere. If you look at the news, if you paid attention to the news, you see that our larger neighboring counties are having a crisis with paramedics. Doctors' offices are hiring paramedics because they can't get nurses. So they get regular hours, more money. It's an ongoing problem. And you think of the job these folks do for us every day. That's not going away. Communications. Our telecommunicators, I don't think people understand the stress that those folks deal with. And they're the first ones that get that emergency call. We've had huge turnover in that area. We have a good cadre right now, but they're all young and they're inexperienced, and there's a training and a learning curve that goes with that. These are our largest challenges right now, but these are the same things I'm hearing throughout the state. This is not just Sampson County. This is the world we live in. And I've included here some stats that I shared with you in February about how many workers we have outside the county. Now, I have not gone back, and pulled all this again, but this was actual numbers from the February presentation that I gave you. If we continue with that, as our vacancies continue to suffer, so will our response times. As David indicated, if we have to lose positions in inspections, there's going to be a wait time for getting those permits. And if you'll remember in February, we had that conversation and you all allowed us to advertise for a new environmental health specialist position to help with that wait time. Well, we still advertising. Those folks are hard to find. But you think about response times when we talk about EMS, when we talk about inspections, when we talk about needing a deputy, when we talk about needing a paramedic, when we talk about needing those services, there's a certain expectation from the public for what we provide. So that's the impact of those vacancies. And then we talk about replacing experience. Those 10 people that are walking out between now and the end of December, 30 years of experience in whatever position, roles they played while they were with us. Yeah, we can all be replaced. We know that. That's as it should be. It's the cycle. But with that experience, when it walks out, there's a learning curve there. There's institutional knowledge. There is a time period and a lapse for training people to get them up to speed to understand what they didn't know or what they don't know. So all of that has a value that it's hard to put a cost on. But we know there's a learning curve there. There's new hire expectations. We just recently went through the process to hire a new DSS director, and it was a very strenuous process, as we've used with several of our key positions, because we wanted someone who could do the best, be the best, and we're very pleased with the outcome. But I will tell you, in putting that application out there statewide, we had many qualified applicants who withdrew applications because of the salary range advertised. They're like, nope, not doing it for that. So then if you talk about losing 30 years of experience and bringing people in who can do the job, who can carry on, who can build, we all want to leave it better than we found it. That's our goal. But when you do that and people are like, nope, not coming for that, there's another hiring challenge. They're, again, not unique to us. Our young folks have a different viewpoint about work. You business owners, all of you have encompassed that. There's a different day and time, and COVID has brought that to the forefront when we've had to look at new ways to get the job done and do things. But our new hires now aren't looking a 30-year career. They're looking, what you putting in my pocket today, and that looks more fun, and I don't have to work as many hours here, and I can work from home if I go. They've got options, and they're taking them. So whereas folks like me that went into a career for 30 years and the retirement and the benefits and all those things that were preached, it's a new day. And we're going to have to evolve as a government to face those new demands. Younger applicants want greater flexibility in where they work and how they work, and they are much more mobile. I really hope you'll look at the visual on this next page. These are our employees at risk. COVID's added a new level of stress for all of us, certainly, but we have employees at risk every day. We are forward-facing folks who are here to serve the public, and the public's not always receptive of what we have to tell them. It doesn't matter which department we're in or what we're doing, but certainly our public safety folks are on the line every day. And they're subjecting themselves and putting themselves somewhere and what they face. Our paramedics, our deputies, our detention officers, our social workers. When you have to go in a home and take somebody's child, when you have to go in a home and remove an elderly person that's being neglected or abused, those are all stressful situations. When somebody's water is not working in the middle of the night, that's stressful for somebody, and they expect somebody to respond. We had a big issue yesterday, and it was causing stress throughout the department. But you don't think about public works being stressful. It all depends on the day and the time. You go to the animal shelter. Oh my goodness, the things that come in there and what they're dealing with, and they're shut down right now trying to get new things installed and cleaned in the one little opportunity they have, and the public doesn't understand that. By golly, I need my animal. And then you get feral animals and you get dangerous animals. Emergency management, if we hear a hurricane's coming, who we calling? What we thinking about? What you gonna do for us? How you gonna take care of us? The public expects and demands, but there's a level of stress that go with each of us. The health department, kudos to them and how they've gotten us through this whole COVID pandemic and continue to, and how they've pulled together to make sure that we're meeting the needs of keeping our employees and the public safe. They don't get enough recognition for what they do, but you think of the stress level on their backs when they have so many more opportunities. They don't have to be here. And then I spoke a while ago about our telecommunicators. They're the first ones to get that call, and they're on the phone with that call until the end. And a lot of times we don't give them the credit that's due when they do the right thing. They're not perfect. They're going to mess up occasionally. I hope nobody's going behind ticking off all my mistakes. They're not perfect, but 9 times out of 9.5, they're going to get it right, and they're going to get the help where it needs to be. That's a stressful situation. So how do we respond to that challenge? Different agencies do different things, and what I've compiled for you here are ideas and suggestions that other counties and other government agencies throughout the state and the nation are doing to address these same issues with hiring that we have. They're offering flexible work schedules, a shorter work week. Can't do that. We've never done that before. Work from home. Well, what does that look like? That mean I'm going to take care of my kids and grandma and cook supper while I'm working from home? You know, we got to define these things, but these are things other agencies are doing. Flexible days and hours. Why does it matter when I get the work done as long as I get the work done? In some positions, but we know there's no one size fits all, but we got to be flexible. COVID has forced us to examine our traditions. We had to think outside the box. We had to rotate how we were doing things. We're not going to be able to go back and put it all back together again because that's out and about, and we found out we can do new things in new ways when we're forced to. Career paths for every department. That's something we're working on now. It keeps getting delayed by other projects. But several of our department heads have recognized the need that every employee in their department needs a career path. Now, I may come in and I want to be an administrative assistant too. That's my dream job. That's what I want to do. Then we need to make that available. But for those employees who desire a career path, who desire more training, they want to be able to stay here and have upward mobility, we need to design that for them so that there is opportunity here. A lot of people are looking at benefits. Now, David talked about our cost savings with post-retirement benefits, but there are other benefits that other folks are implementing. Additional holidays, fitness center for employees, an on-site health clinic. Some people have looked at reinstating the longevity that we did away with. Student loan forgiveness, we've heard that lately. Tuition reimbursement. On-site child care, pet insurance, sharing positions for those folks who don't want to work full-time, providing performance bonuses for identified areas that save money for the entity, a referral bonus if you bring somebody on that's a good employee, a cost savings incentive bonus if you figure out a way to save money for the county. Just praise and recognition, recognizing the job that's being done and doing so publicly. Fertility benefits is a big one right now. Financial advisement, that's something we've been working on strenuously in HR, is providing financial resources to help our employees understand the importance of compound interest and budgeting and planning and buying that first house. So there are lots of financial resources, and October is going to be a bigger focus on that, but giving those employees the information they need to be good consumers. Paid internships. Had my first intern this summer. Awesome experience. So how do we expand upon that and we train up some of our brightest and best homegrown that maybe they will come back and not leave and go away because of the opportunities. Market study and full implementation. If you will recall, when we tried to get a contract for a market study, it was going to be 6 months out because so many counties and governments are doing market studies right now and have done in the last year because they're facing the same problem we are. But a market study is only good when it's implemented. It's worthless on paper if you cannot implement the findings for what you find out. Those are just ideas other folks are trying. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So what is a market study? A market study puts a value on your positions, and it helps you classify positions by a job class, which the Department of Labor tells us we have to for their purposes, but certain like jobs with certain skill sets are grouped together. And then they're determined that based on the current market, here we're back to economics again, this is what this job should command and this is the value of this job. So it puts a dollar amount so that you can develop a salary structure so that your employees are paid fairly, understand their compensation, understand why they're paid what they are. And it also includes benefits because that's a big part of the salary we pay. But two of the most important dimensions of this is the stewardship of public dollars, that we don't just hire Susan because we like Susan and we're going to pay her here, but, we can get David cheaper, so we're going to pay David down here. That's not the purpose of a salary study. A salary study, a market study, puts salaries on a playing field that helps us be equitable to all employees based on the expected job, based on the experience they bring. The whole purpose is to help us attract and retain. Attracting is one thing, but that retaining the qualified applicants. It helps us remain competitive in the marketplace. That's the purpose of the market study. And it doesn't take long, especially with inflation like it is, for things to go askew and to get out of line fast. When you do the market study and you classify your salaries, you look at internal comparisons, but you also look at external comparisons for what's out there in the marketplace, what other jobs are comparable, and then how do we group those and classify them. You look at training and ability. Well, if I'm going to hire a social worker, we know a social worker's got to have a 4-year degree. There's some training and ability that's associated with accomplishing that 4-year degree. We know that for another position, it may only require 6 months of training, or it may just say experience. We like to have some kind of associate degree for all of our positions, but we realize that's no longer possible. Even our lower level positions, getting someone with any kind of educational experience beyond high school is increasingly more difficult. So now we're looking at what other qualifications do they bring. What is the level of work we're asking them to perform? Will they be supervising other employees? Do they operate independently, or are they reporting directly to a supervisor who gives them day-to-day, point-on-point instruction? How much experience is required to step into this role? Do you want somebody fresh out of high school, fresh out of community college, fresh out of a 4-year degree, or do we want somebody who's got a little more experience that's been here, done a little bit of it before? How do they relate well with others? That's a hard one to measure in an interview and an application, but with our new application, or it's not new now, but our online system, it helps us readily determine if people can write and spell and make connections. When they're having to call me to ask for help to complete the application online, their technology skills are probably not what we're looking for. But then what are those human relations skills? How do they relate well? When talking to department heads, and I sit in, or one of my staff members sits in on a lot of the interviews to assist department heads with screenings and asking the right questions and determining what those human relations skills are. It's readily apparent most times when you've got someone who is going to struggle in that area. What are the working conditions we're going to ask this person to be in? Are they going to be going down in trenches and holes, or are they sitting in an office that's fairly clean and noise-free and the air conditioning works most of the time? And then what is the impact of this position on the end result for this department? All those things are weighed when you do a salary comparison and we put a classification system in. But it helps us be consistent. It helps us be transparent. It helps us control cost and plan for future cost. Now, what's wrong with any of that? I mean, if you talk to anybody, we all want to see consistency. We talk about transparency in government all the time. We talk about making sure people are treated equitably. Not always equal, but equitably. And when we venture away from that salary classification system, then there are going to be unintended consequences, and probably some that we don't even realize. So how do we respond to that challenge? I've included an example of what one of our departments has done, and I'm not picking on Department of Social Services, but that's our largest department. They have some of our greatest challenges. They have a lot of turnover, and they deal with a lot of different issues by virtue of what they handle with income maintenance and protective services, and there's a whole different avenue there that they go in different directions. But what they do, and they continue to have staffing shortages. Lynn currently and her predecessor would come to HR and say, I've got this issue. we need to realign, we need to reassign people. I need them here now, I needed them here then, but things have changed and we need to move them over here. And I know this is a supervisor, but right now I need them down here taking care of this. And we work out a plan, and then we take that plan to the county manager and we support her in making it work for her department and the needs. And it's constant, it changes, I'm not gonna say monthly, but it's evermore, it's a moving target. But every department head organizes the resources they have to meet the needs of the department. Mr. Causey doesn't go tell them, you put this person here and this person here and this person here. Every department head is the advocate for what they need to get the job done for their department. But this is just one example, and there again, I'm not picking on DSS, that's just the one where we have some of the most challenges. Because right now, you know, she's got 15 vacancies. That's kind of a standard measure. Sometimes feel like it's whack-a-mole, that game. You know, you get this one down and this one pops up, and you get this one down and this one pops up. So that's just one way she responds. I've provided some organizational comparisons for you for our larger departments, beginning with the sheriff's office. You know, they've got 95 full-time positions, 2 part-time positions. They have hiring challenges, as we all are aware. This is the information I have. Now, where it says undesignated, that means HR doesn't know, I don't know where these people are assigned. I just know what their title is. But this gives you an outline of where their staff, how they're assigned. Obviously, the sheriff, and there's 1 chief deputy, 5 captains, 6 lieutenants. This is just a breakdown of their assigned positions. And then I've given you CID's criminal interdiction, special investigation, school resource officer. That's what those letters mean. And then on ensuing pages, I've also given you the organizational comparison for emergency management services. Now, this isn't emergency management. This is EMS. Used to call it rescue for some reason, but it's emergency management systems. They have 52 full-time. Their part-time fluctuates. We're thankful for the part-time to keep them on the road. So they have a smaller staff. Instead of 95, they have 52. And then for communications, we're picking up the 4 new telecommunicators in January, but right now they have 12. So this is how they break down management and supervising each of the positions, just for your comparison. And then I've given you Department of Social Services on the next page with 1 director and 1 human services deputy director. So they have 150 positions, and 31 of those are in management. Much of the information I'm going to provide from this point forward is charts and data, and I realize it will take you some time to kind of break it down. So I'm going to highlight it for you, but I would ask you to please go back and study these organizational charts to see how each of these departments is organized and how their staffing relates to their positions. And then when we turn over to staffing data, this is a breakdown, excuse me, more numbers. This is not my favorite thing. But this shows you our new hires and our departures since 2018. If you look at the sheriff's office with 95 employees, they've had 45 departures and 38 new hires. So we haven't filled all those positions. And a lot of those departures were new hires that didn't stay long or left for whatever reason. So we're not replacing the folks we need. If you look at the detention center with 50 employees, we've had 60 departures and 80 new hires. Detention is just not for everybody. You have to have a special mindset to work there. And if you look at the full-time new hires there, we've got 79 over that time span. 27 of the 50 are fairly new on the job, and not all of them have stayed, and that changes daily. That's a tough job. And then if we look at emergency management services, here again, this is not the 7 employees that are classified in emergency management. They have 52 full-time positions. They've lost 35, they picked up 42, but you can see the trends there across the years. It's gone up and down, and we can attribute some of that to COVID, certainly, but they've been able to replace their folks pretty well. And communications, as I told you earlier, 10 of the 15 of those new hires, if you look at, we've hired 6 in 2021 and 4 so far this year. You know, that's inexperience, and they've got to be trained, and they've got to be brought up. So we just can't put them on a headset and say, here, answer calls. And that takes time and effort. And then if you go to Department of Social Services with the 150 employees, they have lost 107 employees since 2018, and they've hired 99. And those numbers have remained pretty consistent across as well. Countywide, 565 positions. We've lost 508 and we've picked up 542. But when you look at losing 508 total departures, now if we take out the part-time, it's 360. So let's focus on the full-time. 360, 65 have retired since 2018, and we're getting ready to lose 10 more. That's 75 employees. And then we've lost 295 full-time employees in that same time period. That's a lot of our workforce that is now new and inexperienced and learning, and we're readjusting for how we do things. Anytime an employee leaves, that's an opportunity for that department head to look at their operations and decide, do I need to fill this position as is, or what skill set am I missing within my department, and I need to hire for that skill set. And it may be to reclassify a position, it may be to combine job duties. Anytime someone leaves, we try not to just go put somebody back in there, but what is it we're missing and what do we need, and how do we approach this differently to get what we need? So while we hate to lose employees, every turnover is an opportunity to let's find what we really need to fill in here. But that's been a whole lot of opportunity there in a short period of time. So if you'll note that the total departures for Department of Social Services in this time period was 107 out of 150, and for the Sheriff's Department Detention Center, it was 105 out of 145. So they're comparable. Our two largest departments are experiencing the most turnover. And that's outlined on the next page where we have the breakdown for you, where we look at the comparisons across and how many departed each year from each of these 5 departments. I've listed for you Health, Communications, EMS, DSS, Detention, and Sheriff's Department. By virtue of that's where most of our turnout, they're our larger departments, so they're going to have more, and our new hires there. This is leading to further staffing issues. Beyond what I'm printing here, I want to give you some more information. In the month of July, this past July, we had 20 employees on family medical leave. That means they had been here more than a year and they qualified for 12 weeks of family medical leave. Now, that may have been paid, may not have been paid, but that means they had some condition in their family or themselves that required them to be out of work. Some of them, it was a whole month, some of it was intermittent, but you take 20 more people, 20 more employees out of this mix, and we're having to plug those holes. Out of those, 6 were with the Sheriff's Department in detention, and 9 were in DSS. Same pattern. But those are 20 more warm bodies that are not there to do the job that everybody else is having to fill in. Then we had 6 more employees who were on a personal leave of absence. And a personal leave of absence is something that the commissioners and our personnel resolution allows for employees who may not have been here a year or who may have exhausted their rights to family medical leave. Family medical leave, the federal government says that job protection, we give you 12 weeks. And if you can't come back after those 3 months, then perhaps the work's not getting done, and we may have to fill that position. We're not hard-hearted, but the work's got to be done. So we try to look after the employee within the constraints we're given, but we also have to get the work done. So the county generously allows personal leave of absence if that particular position can be covered in the interim. The work can get done for a little bit longer. Now, we wouldn't extend it indefinitely. We can't hold a job open forever. If we can, we don't really need the job. We don't need the position. But the personal leave of absence is for somebody that's already exhausted their family medical leave or doesn't qualify because they haven't been here a year yet. But we still allow them to take time away from work to take care of whatever it is that they need to attend to. It might be a medical condition, it might be trauma in their family, it's different issues. But in July, we had 6 employees on top of the 20 who were on a personal leave of absence. 6 of those, 3 of the 6 were the sheriff in detention and 1 was DSS. And the other 2 were other departments. So we work with these employees. Yes, you need a little more time away from work, but get back here as quick as you can because the work's got to be done. Then we had 16 employees who took leave without pay to some degree, and 11 of those were DSS. They didn't have enough accrued sick or vacation leave on the books to pay them for the whole month. So they were in a leave without pay status. They weren't necessarily on a personal leave of absence because it wasn't for an extended period of time, but it may have been 2 days or 3 days that they just had to be out of work. All that impacts services, all that impacts the job. Somebody's got to do the work. Where have I heard that before? But all of those things are important to what we do and we track. And then we had 1 Sheriff's Department employee who was on a light duty assignment. Because sometimes our employees can come back from an operation or something, but they can't go back to full capacity. So then we try to find them a light duty assignment that helps the agency but also keeps them on the payroll. So we extend that as well. Let's talk a little bit about compensation. In 2017, we entered the 3rd year of the pay plan, and we also enjoyed a 0.75% COLA. In 2018, that was the 4th year of the pay plan, so it was fully implemented at that point. In 2019, we received a 2% COLA. In 2020, we did not receive a COLA, cost of living adjustment. In July of 2021, every employee received a 5% cost of living. In October of 2021, our detention officers got a 10% raise to help them with their hiring challenges. In December of 2021, every employee who was employed as of the date that was assigned, and I don't remember right off the top of my head, but they got a 2.1% bonus based on their June 30th, that's the date, their June 30th salary. So, and then in January of 2022, we also, except for detention officers, enjoyed another 5% raise. So that's what's been done in my tenure for our employees. Now, what's interesting is that when we did that 5% in January, and I'm talking to all my peers around, and when I say my peers, I'm looking at the surrounding counties and our competing counties where we trade employees. And like I said, we've gotten where we don't share information a lot because it comes back to bite us. But they all saw what we did. And how did you get 2 COLAs in 1 year? And how did you do this? So guess what they did in July when we did not do another COLA? They passed us. Some of them barely. Some of them really looked at our salaries and they're only $200 or $300 ahead of us in the hiring rates. Now some of them were more generous and their economic outlook's probably more generous. They've invested more in economic development and it's paid off for them. So, but at this point in time, with that response, that's put us behind many of our local surrounding areas. And the information I've put in here is what they did share with me, okay? So this is just for your comparisons. And on the next page, when we talk about North Carolina county salaries, every year, I just got it this week as a matter of fact, and I have to turn it in by November 15th, and UNC School of Government does a salary survey of all county governments, and we report every position, and we have to report how many people are in that position and what is the starting pay for that position, what is the maximum pay for that position, and what is the average pay for all the people that hold that position. and we report it to the School of Government. They compile it all, and in April of each year, they send out that comparison. It's on the web. It's open to anybody that wants to see it. You can look at anybody's salary. You can go back as many years. You can sort it. It's a very user-friendly spreadsheet, but it's very detailed and involved. Everybody doesn't report positions the same way. Some people call one thing, and some people call it another. So you have to kind of look at it to determine where some of our positions may lay. But each year they promote it and they put it out there, and I provided that website for you that you can go look at it anytime you want to. But here's what you take away from it when you look at it and you go back and you compare. We're all competing for the same skill sets, and there's a limited number being out there. If we talk about that we're looking deputies, we only have to go to the community college and look at their enrollment numbers. They're published every year to see how many individuals are going into BLET classes. How many are going into nursing classes if we're looking at nurses. Whatever we're looking for, the data's out there to tell us we're trading employees. They're not coming up, and we're not getting more BLET graduates. We're not getting more nursing graduates that are coming into public service. Now, the nursing numbers are holding pretty steady right now, but the BLET, the law enforcement classes, are getting beat up everywhere. People with the target that's been put on their backs, they're not going into law enforcement. Young people are not choosing that as a career path. So what's resulted is we're having to grab the ones that are available. And I'll take them, and then somebody will take them from me. And there's got to be a way to address that holistically, but the enrollment's declining, and the figure's there to support it. As I told you earlier, we're all raising salaries, so we raise our salaries. What do surrounding counties do? They raise their salaries. What does the city of Clinton do? They raise their salaries. We're competing for the same applicants. I'm currently providing the salaries that are there, but the ones that I want to provide you with on the next page are the salaries for our chief executive officers in this county, the Sampson Regional Medical Center, Sampson Community College, Clinton City Schools, Sampson County Schools, and Sampson County Government. These are the current salaries for these individuals. It's public knowledge, but these are people we have hired who have credentials, experience, education to lead these institutions. This is what we've determined are our leading institutions, public institutions, and our hospital. Our perspective is we hire for experience and demonstrated achievements. Each of these people got their job because of those things. The salaries are comparable, and I've given you on the next page, there's been a lot said about the county manager's salary. The next page is a preview or an excerpt of the county manager's salaries from 2021. And I did not include all 100 counties. They're not all pertinent for this information. But I have highlighted our county manager's salary and where he falls in this scale of southeastern North Carolina counties of comparable size. It gives you the population of the county, the tax valuation of the county, the salary, if there's a travel allowance or a car, and how many years we're in the position. And notice this one says 11 because this is 2021, so you can add a year to that now. I won't have the other data until April when the COLAs that were just given in July will be implemented in the new information. So this would not include any COLAs that were given since last September 1st, September of 2021. That's where these figures were pulled from. So that gives you a good comparison of his salary and how it compares to other county managers. David talked about the 2015 pay plan and some of the provisions there. There's a lot said about extinguishing or doing away with post-employment health insurance benefits. That's happening everywhere. The state of North Carolina has teachers and state employees, if you were hired after January 1st, 2021, they've done away with them. It's no longer a practice that's being followed because it's hard to support it, number one, and there are other means to help employees through the 401k matching. So when the county took away that post-retirement benefit, they also ensured that they would match the 401k to help employees start planning and preparing to take care of their post-retirement health. But they didn't just cut it off, and I was not here then, but the way they implemented it in was if new employees had been employed less than 5 years as of July 1st, 2015, then they were no longer eligible for post-retirement benefits. If they were less than 15 years as of that date, then they would have to work 20 consecutive years with the county to be eligible for post-retirement health benefits. And employees with 15 or more years of continuous service at the time of July 1st, 2015 would continue under the current plan. So with that phased-in model, employees were given ample time to assume the responsibility to plan effectively and to look at what their options are. But I'm sure, like with any change is not a popular thing. Even when it's a good thing or even when it's something that's needed, it's not always popular because we just are creatures of habit. If we look back at the other post-retirement benefits, the county at the same time agreed to pay 1.5% contribution for every employee to match their salary, and then they would match up to 5%. Now that's, our law enforcement officers by mandate get 5%. But as David pointed out, this also, the other savings there is it allowed us to reduce our interest rate on our outstanding debt because we no longer had that debt sitting there. This is not a direct salary benefit, but benefits are a huge part of what we do for counties. And the next page details what those benefits look like. So this is looking beyond take-home pay for our employees. And if you'll recall, I shared in February statement that we sent home with every employee last February detailing what their benefits look like and the cost of those benefits to the county, just as a reminder. And some people, we don't realize there's a cost associated with everything. But if you look at health insurance, if you look at dental insurance, vision, life, our flex savings account, what we pay for cafeteria fees to manage these accounts, what we provide for our 401ks, our North Carolina retirement percentages. Of course, we have to pay Medicare and Social Security. The special separation allowance, this is something that our certified law enforcement officers earn. With a certain number of years of service and with a certain age, they can retire, and they get an extra retirement benefit between the ages of 55 and 62, and we carry the bill for that. Even if somebody is hired and they just spend their last 5 years of their 30 with us, the county has to pick up that whole tab. So that's an added benefit for our law enforcement officers. And then longevity. Currently, we have 125 employees who will still receive longevity this December, and that goes down every year with retirements because we have done away with that. And then the county's cost for health insurance. In 2018-19, the county paid $734 per covered employee, full-time employee, for health insurance every month. In 2019-20, that went to $774 per every employee every month, and the employee did not get an increase in their premium. The county picked up the tab. 2020-21, that amount went to $805 per employee per month, with no cost passed on to employees. The county picked up the tab. In 2021-22, that amount went from $805 per employee per month to $845 per employee per month, and there was no cost passed on to the employees. Now, if you can see that trend there, that's not sustainable. So this year, we said, what can we do differently to offer employees an option, because we can't keep absorbing that cost. And this isn't just us either. If you talk to surrounding counties, they're having the same issues. Everybody's seeing healthcare costs surge. It is what it is. So this year, we offered our employees a buy-up plan. similar to what state employees offer for employees. That's an 80-20 plan, if you're familiar with the terminology, and it would cost more for those employees. Or they could continue with their same premium, not raise a premium, but they would have a 70-30 plan. So it would not be as robust as what they were accustomed to, but it would cost them the same amount. So we gave them an option. We had our open enrollment meetings. We brought the health benefits people in to explain it, to make sure everybody knew what their options were, to give them a chance to ask questions, to sign up in person if they needed to, rather than doing it themselves. And as a result of that, 379 employees chose the buy-up plan, which means it's costing them more out of pocket, even as our costs are rising, and that schedule is listed there at the bottom for you. People who work in private industry or come to us from private industry understand the value of these premiums. As much as they are, and as much as we don't like paying and we don't like the change, this is still a value compared to what you pay in the private sector. What I've attempted to do is give you an overview of the challenges we're facing that are not unlike what our neighbors are facing. We have a limited applicant pool. The quality of those applicants is not always what we would desire, even when we get the applicants. We are doing a good job of screening them. Our department heads are working very diligently to hire the best people they can and to look at new avenues for trying to find those places. We're exploring all the time, where else might we put out a feeler? Where else might we get someone? And I invite you, like Mr. Kivitt gave me a lead last week, so if you know people, send them to me. Let's see if we can get them certified and in here. But we're looking people, because if we're going to continue with government as government, and we're not going to redefine it as David shared earlier, we're going to have to look at doing some things differently. We're going to have to look at what those hiring challenges are and what our needs are, and we're going to have to be realistic, and we are always going to have needs, and our hard-to-fill positions are not just ours. They're everywhere. Please take time to look at the charts I provided you. I'm not going to bore you and read them to you, but please take time to look at them, and if you come up with any kind of questions about those numbers afterwards, please contact me directly. But at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I saw those impressive charts from DSS, who we are talking about that department again, rearranging their employees and plugging the, what's the protocol for other departments to reach out to you? If they
Same
have-
thing.
Do we have other department heads reaching out to you with significant shortages?
Their challenges are not as great, but yes, they do come to me and say, what are we going to do? I'm going to pick on the expo right now. Ray's got an opening, and it's a two-man show, and it's one-man show most of the last 3 years, but finding that skill set and finding that right person and making sure we've got the position we need there. So yes, we do. It's just DSS, by virtue of their turnover, is more frequent. But yes, we do talk with department heads all the time about their needs and how we meet those needs, because they change.
And right off the top of your head,
Another example is inspections and planning. We lost both planning positions. We ended up getting some assistance with a part-time contract. We hired a temporary person, but our department head, Mr. Cashwell, took a direct interest, and if you recall, he's made several presentations of doing it because it needed to be done. And when he looked around, he had nobody but himself. So here he came.
I've been in those shoes before, like 50 years. In the private sector, that's what we have to do all the time. So there's nothing unusual there.
I missed it probably when you went through. Do you know right off the top of your head how many employees we have in the detention center? We have 95 in the sheriff's. How much?
We have 50 assigned positions.
50, okay. So 145 total. Okay. I think that's all I've got. Any questions?
I have an observation, I think it is. After my tenure with the county for 30 years, Sampson County was a good place to work. And I have had the opportunity to look at other counties to see what kind of benefits they have. And when I would apply for the job, I had to pay for all of my insurance. So I always weigh my options. I look at them, I say, now, if I got to pay for my insurance and it's $700, I might as well stay where I am. Because, you can add that amount to your salary every month. And that makes your salary more. And another thing, what a lot of departments, lose people, like you were saying, and they're not hired for a year or more. What happens to that salary?
Those are called lapse salaries, and they go back into the fund to use in other areas as we need to. They're not just given to the department, but that's county dollars that we can use for other things while we're waiting to fill that position.
Have we ever considered paying that department's insurance? Employees' insurance, do we have enough for that, or it just goes back into the county funds?
I'm not sure of the question, just to pay the insurance for that particular department,
Yeah, cause it came out of their department.
that would be a David question. I'm
What
not,
insurance are you referring to?
Health insurance.
But what part? The employee's part or the
Yeah,
county's part?
the employees' part. How much are they
That-
paying now?
Well, I mean, the employees pay varying amounts. They pay part of they pay part of what their individual insurance is on a scale based on their salary. They also pay their dependents insurance if they choose to take out dependent insurance. If we did something like what you're talking about, suddenly we would be unequal between the departments. There'd be departments that could do it, and departments that couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden, next year, when you expect to fill that position that's vacant, you budgeted that money for the position and you don't have it to pay their insurance anymore. So you don't know what you're doing from one year to the next. So all you're gonna do is give it to them for a part of a year, then go turn around and take it back. And then you're gonna have those departments who can't do it, whose employees are looking at the other ones that is, a department that is doing it. So, I mean, that's why we would never have considered. That would be the same thing on our end as if we took that money for a position that was unfilled and said, let's give everybody in that department a raise, because we didn't spend that money. Well, suddenly, if I gave everybody either a raise, or even if I called it a bonus, next year I gotta turn around and take it right back away. And I've got to contend with what's going on in other departments when I can't do it but for one department or two departments, or those departments I can't do it for. So that's why we've never done anything like that.
and then there goes your classification scale because you just skewed it.
Just a question.
Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Dillman.
thank you.
Very interesting. I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you.
You think we need to stand up for a couple minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, couple minutes break.
Ooh,
It was stated.
I can't stand up.
Can I have one?
Oh, yes, yes.
Thank you. Gosh, I can't
He's
stand up.
trying to hog them.
I know. I looked around and said, they put them way down there, they put them way down
And
there.
no break.
Wait. She just evened it up. She just evened it. You know what? You know what? DSS really I applaud. I don't agree with that.
It's always been a challenge.
Statement.
But sometimes I forget that. I go behind.
Really?
to find out what I expect,
Oh,
so that
oh, go ahead.